Welcome back to The Distressed Princess. I'm Rhonda. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing so you won't miss any of my videos. In today's episode, I want to share with you a few pictures from about 20 years ago in my very first home that I set up, and I was very much into the cottage style aesthetic, which is still very near and dear to my heart. So that's what I'm working on today. 3 very quick, very simple cottage style crafts. They've been having a sale at the Dollar General store where everything with a purple dot was 50% off. So I picked up a few things, including this tray. So the plan is to transform this tray from a nautical style to a cottage style. So the first thing I did was remove the price tag, and then I removed the handles, which required a screwdriver. Make sure that the little tiny screws don't roll away because you'll be replacing the handles at the end. Give it a good wipe down, removing any of the dust created when you unscrewed the handles. Then you can paint it with your choice of acrylic paint or chalk paint. I happen to have a lot of chalk paint right now, so that's what I'm using for this project. I did 2 coats, and at first I didn't worry about painting the middle because I was going to cover it up with some of that really pretty vinyl that you can get at the Dollar Tree, and I thought that the vinyl was going to be able to cover up the design. And while the paper still had the backing on, I couldn't tell that it was going to show through. But eventually I do peel the backing off to put it on and see that the underneath design will show through this vinyl. So go ahead and paint your whole piece like I'm going to wind up having to do anyway. Because this is narrow vinyl, it's going to take 2 pieces. So I laid them down, or I laid 1 piece down inside of the tray and made a mark where it would need to be cut. Then I used a vinyl cutter, my Cricut vinyl cutter, to get nice straight edges, and I cut 2 pieces. I really looked to see if there was any way I could make those patterns line up, and I didn't really see a way, so I just went ahead and let my 2 pieces of vinyl overlap. Now here's where I peel the backing off and go ahead and try to put that down onto the tray and realize that the design is definitely going to show through. So I'm gonna have to go back and paint my tray, but you guys will already have that done. Now with my tray completely painted, I went back to trying to put the vinyl on, and I found that the easiest way was to turn the tray up on its side. That way it could line up lengthwise and be as straight as possible on the tray. For the other piece, I found it was easier to fold it in half lengthwise so that it didn't get stuck to the vinyl that's already on there, because once it touches that other piece, it's getting stuck and it's hard to get back off. So I tried not to let the 2 pieces touch until I was ready to stick them down. And what a transformation already. How stinking adorable this vinyl is. So just smooth out all of the wrinkles and air bubbles. There really wasn't very many. And then you'll want to paint your handles that you took off earlier. I'm using a concoction of green paint that I mixed up for another project, and I'm going to use it on these handles. Oh my gosh, this makes my cottage heart so happy, these colors all together. Now just screw your handles back into place. And if it bothers you like it bothered me, you can take some of your same color paint you painted your handles with and touch up those little black screw heads. And this is the stinking most adorable cottage tray I have ever owned in my life, and it cost less than $4. Check out the link in my description box to shop in my Amazon store, where you'll find all my favorite craft supplies and home decor items on a budget. Next up is a cottage style craft using these prayer cards that I got at the Dollar Tree. I've been hanging on to these for quite some time, and I picked them up because I was so drawn to the colors and the florals, and I just love their quotes. So we're going to make some art with these prayer cards. So go ahead and pick out however many of these that you would like to use. And we're also going to be using some of these small canvases that you can get at the Dollar Tree and make however many you would like. But before we start making our art, we need to prepare our canvases. And even though they're already white, a lot of times the ones that I get have some little dirty spots on them in places. So I like to go ahead and put a coat of white acrylic paint on my canvases before I do anything else. Once the white paint is dry, then you get to start doing some artistic work. And don't worry, it's not anything hard, complicated, and as a matter of fact, I think it looks even better if it is very much not perfect. So what we're going to do is paint some lines onto these canvases, and I mixed up two different colors of paint, like a green color, the same one that I used for the handles in the previous DIY, and some blue, and I thought these were coordinating colors with the two cards that I picked out to use. I'm just going to paint some stripes, and like I said, I could have used a ruler and paint pen to make these perfectly straight lines, but I wanted them to be a little charming, like purposefully hand painted. Once you get your stripes done going one direction, then turn your canvas and paint some stripes going the other direction to turn them into checks. To give your art a finished look, go ahead and paint the same color onto the edges of your canvases. Now, after all that is dry, then you get to place your prayer cards into the center. And look how cute those colors are all together. And all you'll need to do is heat up your hot glue gun and just stick it on down. And you can't beat that for a quick cottage craft. Next, I'll be working with some Dollar Tree coasters to turn them more into cottagey coasters to match my other things. So I'm also going to be using some napkins that I picked up at, I don't remember if it was TJ Maxx or Burke's Outlet. I really think it might have been Burke's Outlet that I got these from. And I'm going to first have to paint these coasters white. Most times you want your background of things that you're decoupaging to be white. So I'm going to paint them up and let them dry first. If you're new to decoupaging with napkins, the first thing you need to know is to peel off the blank layers. You're only going to need the top printed layer, and most napkins will have at least 2 layers, sometimes 3. Now the next step is to cut out the pieces that you want for your coasters. Isn't that going to be so adorable? Now next you use your Mod Podge. It doesn't really matter if you want to use matte or gloss, and I think I'm using gloss this time just because that's what I have on hand, and I'm going to put my Mod Podge down next. Sometimes it can be tricky, for me at least, to get things centered into the middle. I got this one just a little tad off center, but I'm not going to let that bother me because I don't need everything to be perfect anyway, and we shouldn't expect all our crafts to be perfect. We'd be just way too hard on ourselves if we did that, wouldn't we? But smooth out your wrinkles. The decoupage actually does pretty well with the napkins on these coasters. I didn't have a really hard time smoothing out wrinkles, but here in a second I'm going to show you another technique if you're having trouble getting the wrinkles out. And the secret hack is to use a piece of cling wrap or saran wrap, and that helps your fingers slide on the napkin and not stick so bad, so that you can get the wrinkles out smoother. At least I think that's the idea of it. This seems to work pretty well. Here's how they're looking with their wrinkles all smoothed out. The next step is to put their top coat of Mod Podge on. After they are completely dry, now I'm going to get rid of the excess napkin on the edges. I'm going to use two different techniques, so you can pick which one you want to use. The first technique I did was using a sanding block just to gently sand away the excess pieces. This did take a little extra time, but I must admit I liked this better for this particular project anyway, and I'll go ahead and show you what the next technique is. And it's setting the napkin ablaze. The internet has gone crazy with this, and so I went ahead and got my candle lighter and set this napkin on fire, and it's supposed to just burn up all the excess, leaving you with crisp, clean edges. And it did do that, but as I was afraid, it also did leave some black marks all around my coaster. So I have now burnt edges, which I had to go back and try to clean up. A lot of that burning did come off with just a wet rag, but I think I would prefer just using the sanding block for this project. This might work great for maybe wood projects or something that you're wanting to look a little more rustic, but I wanted this to be crisp, clean white. But you live and you learn. And here's all the cottage crafts today, all together looking so adorable. Thanks everyone for spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more DIY fun, click the link that I've provided for you right here, and I'll see you next time. Bye!